Good afternoon, everybody. So today we'll be dealing with our next topic from the NCRT, that is the population of India. Fine. So if we talk about the population that means the human population. Whatever we see around us, whatever the things that are happening around us, we always try to look at only from the human perspective. Okay. For example, nowadays we are facing coal crisis all over India. Okay. But just imagine that there are no humans at all. What will be the value of the coal? It will be a nothing but just a piece of a rock. Okay, just a piece of a rock. So coal has got its value because of we humans, because we humans use it as a resource to get different forms of energy. Fine. So coal has received its value because of we human. So again, there are different calamities happening all over the world. Okay, there are landslides, there are earthquakes, there are tsunamis. Okay, they occur at different places at different time because of the different geological events. Okay, but just imagine a tsunami wave occurring and there is absolutely no loss of human life. There is absolutely no loss of human life. So can I call it a disaster in that case? Definitely not. Okay, so we cannot call it as a disaster if there is absolutely no loss of life. Okay, in case that there might be some animal loss of some animal life, then also we can consider it as a disaster. But most of the time, whenever we talk about all such things, we talk it when only with respect to the humans. So whatever impacts that are occurring with respect to we humans, then also then only we consider these different activities as a disaster. So there are resources, there are different calamities taking place. So all the social sciences that we study, all the social sciences that we study, it is basically with respect to humans. That's why the human population, the study of the human population is quite significant part of your syllabus. Fine. In today's topic we will see only few static things. Okay, especially how the population of a place is affected because of the various factors, because of migration and all. Then we'll see the different population attributes of India. Okay, the density of our population. Then we also have certain health indicators of our population, which accordingly there is a quite lot of variation all across India. Health indicators like we have maternal mortality rate, infant mortality rate, okay, neonatal mortality rate. We'll be studying all these different attributes and their definitions, and how these things cause a change in the overall population of India. Fine. So we'll be studying all these things in detail. Plus, we will also be looking at the size and the distribution of population. Size, the overall size of the population of our country. Okay, India is the second largest populated country in the world, next only to China. And soon, by in next couple of decades, will easily overpass China in terms of population. Fine. Then the distribution of population. If you talk about the distribution of population, if you're staying in Delhi, you will find that here there is quite a lot of high density of population. Can I say that density of population, that is lot many people staying in a particular square kilometer area. I'll be talking about the definition as well. That is, lot many people are staying in a very small space, okay, in Delhi. Fine. So we'll be talking about the distribution, that is the density of the population in various parts of India. We'll find that in the northern plains of India, the density of the population is quite high. Now why it is so high? There are certain factors responsible for that, that also will be covering. Then if you talk about the population growth and the processes that are responsible for the population change, we know that the population of India is steadily increasing. Okay, It has been increasing right since 1921. It has been found that the population of India is continuously increasing. So there is a quite increasing growth trend seen in the population of India. Okay, but recently, due to certain factors that we'll be learning, like for example education, the the growth rate of the population of India has steadily declined. Okay, the growth rate, that is the in terms of percentage, the population of India has steadily declining. But if we talk about in the absolute terms, in the number, if you talk about the census conducted in 2011, at that time the population of India was almost 1.2 billion. Now it is almost reaching 1.4 billion. Fine. So the changes that are taking place in the population, then there are different characteristics or qualities of the population. Qualities as in like the age structure. We'll see the age structure. We find that different people are in different age groups. Okay, different age groups. Then the sex composition, we have the male and the female composition of the population, as well as the third gender. Okay, we also have the third gender nowadays. Fine. So literacy levels, the occupational structure, and the health conditions. In health condition, we'll see the latest data from the National Family Health Survey. Okay, in your textbooks, usually all the data that is provided, it is quite old, so I'll be providing you the latest data today itself. Fine. Every year, almost every 5 years, there is a National Family Health Survey conducted by the Health Ministry. Fine. And it releases some appropriate data based on its survey. So just take a look at this. So these are the different population attribute of our country. If you talk about the census of India is conducted by the Office of Registrar General and Census Commissioner. This department, it comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, so remember this fact. It is usually asked in your prelims question or something. Census in India is conducted by the Office of Registrar General and Census Commissioner. It comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. Then if you talk about the latest data on population as per a report by UN, United Nations, the latest data, the population of India, okay, is around 140 crore. Okay, it is around 140 crore. Now in 2021, the new latest, you can say, the census data will be available till 2021. Fine. And its report will be released in a short while, in few months or couple of days, you can say. At that time you'll find that the population, it will be somewhere around 1.38 crore, 1.38 billion. Okay, because it will be little bit less, because that survey has been conducted, you can say, a couple of few years ago. Okay, they would have started conducting the survey in 2020 itself. Fine. Then if you talk about the overall population, India almost almost occupies, you can say, 18% of the world population is staying in India. 18% of the world population is staying in India. And if you talk about the overall area of India, the overall area of India with respect to world, it is only 2.4%. It is only 2.4%. So you can just imagine, in just 2.4% of the land area, the 18% of the population, human population, is residing. Okay, and we are talking about only the human population. We also have animal life, we also have wildlife, and almost 7 to 8% of the world animal life is also residing in India. Okay, staying in India. So they also have their own habitat in India. Fine. So you can just imagine the amount of pressure in terms of resources, that India is facing. Fine. So that's why studying this topic of population is quite crucial to manage not just our resources, but as well as the overall sustainable development of India. Okay, overall sustainable, not just the resources in terms of social needs, but as well as in the economic needs as well. We have to take care of all these things. That's why studying the population of India is quite crucial. Fine. Then, if you talk about, as I said, India ranks second in the list of countries in terms of population, and it is said as per a UN report that India will surpass China by 2045. Okay, by 2045. But now this seems way too far away. Looking at the rate that the Indian population has increased, it is now said that India will surpass China by somewhere around 2035 only. Okay, so way too ahead. You can, it has been preponed by a decade almost. Okay, so that's the thing. Then if you look about the urban population of India, in 2020, in 2011, as per 2011 census, almost 31% of the population of India, 31 to 33% of the population of India, it was residing in urban areas. Now slowly and steadily, as the process of urbanization is increasing, the population residing in urban areas have also increased. It is now almost around 35%. Plus, there are n number of other different factors which leads to increase in the urban population. In geography, we have settlement and migration theories. Okay, in migration theories, we'll study that there are different push and pull factors. Then there are other socio-economic factors that ultimately lead to the change in the population structure of India, and the forces the migration of people from different places towards the urban areas, especially from rural areas towards the urban areas. During COVID crisis, during COVID crisis, you definitely would have seen in the news what was the case of the laborers. Okay, there was reverse migration taking place. There was a reverse migration, and not just in India. Okay, there was an overall international reverse migration taking place. There was an overall international reverse migration taking place. There were n number of you can say human population. Okay, Indian diaspora residing in US and all in other European countries, they all wanted to return back to India. Fine. So reverse migration is an important topic which we'll be studying in your optional thing. Fine. So if you look at the population growth, uh, there's one more thing. The median age of population in India is around 28.4 years. Okay, 28.4 years. This is quite important. If you have heard the term demographic dividend, our prime minister, he always refers to the word the demographic dividend. So what this term actually means, can anyone just give a brief, a single liner definition? डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड क्या होता है? डिविडेंड वर्ड पता है? डिविडेंड. Okay, in simple layman terms, I'll call it an interest, a simple interest. We people deposit money in the bank, we get some interest. Okay, that means in short we can say we are earning certain little bit of profit on whatever we are saving. Okay, we are gaining something. So as I've said that the human population is the biggest resource. The human population is the biggest resource, and since, if you look at the median age of India, it is 28 years. And usually you will find that all over the world, between 16 to 59 years of age, it is considered as the productive age group. Okay, in this age group, people usually do some work and they earn money, and ultimately they help build the economy. Ultimately they help build the economy. So we are getting lot of benefits from this group of people. Okay, usually the population in 0 to 15, it is 0 to 15 and 60 plus, it is considered as a dependent population. Okay, now we still have crossed that limit. Okay, and we still are dependent on our parents for money and everything. But if you look at the Western concept in their countries, usually they start to earn on their own immediately after the crossing the age of 15. Okay, so but still you are in the preparation stage. Don't worry about finances. ठीक है, जब तक भेज रहे तब तक आराम से पढ़ लेना. ठीक है, सोचना मत ज्यादा खर्चा करना है तो कर भी देना. ठीक है, but these, I shouldn't be saying this in live thing. You just imagine about any business, okay, in which you invest hardly few 5-10 lakh rupees, and the ultimate income that you get on clearing this exam, okay, which you people, some of you might be aware, okay, the income that you receive, especially if you're, even if you're in the top 10, okay, you'll get lakhs of rupees from this lane only. ओके, सो आपके सारा जितना 2 साल 3 साल का जो खर्चा होगा वो एक दिन में सब निपट जाएगा. ठीक है, सो ओके, ट्राई टू एंश्योर दैट यू स्कोर एज मच हाई एज पॉसिबल, because you earn a lot of money if you are in a top 10 from this entire lane itself, just by advertising yourself as a product. Okay, so this is about the population growth. As you see, if you see in this graph, the population of India has been steadily increasing. But there is one particular decade, if you look over here, 1921. This is the only decade where the population of India in absolute term, okay, in absolute term, it it decreased. Okay, it decreased. The population of India was 25.2 crore, and in 1921 it went to 25.1 crore. Okay, there are certain specific reasons, because there was World War One, then there were several diseases that were spreading. Fine, so the family healthcare was not taken that seriously during this decade. That's why there was little bit of decrease in the overall population. But after that, if you look at the population trend, it has been increasing at a very fast pace. Okay, it has been increasing at a very fast pace, especially after the 1951. Okay, after 1951 we got independence, and people took it in a very wrong way. ठीक है, इंडिपेंडेंस मिला था, किस चीज का मिला था वो पता नहीं, बट दे स्टार्टेड producing lot many childrens, and that's why the Indian population, it almost, you can say, increased at an almost at an exponential rate. Okay, there was a population boom in India. Then again, if you look at the year, from 1961 onwards, in 1960s there was a famine in India. There was a quite a lot of food shortages in India. Okay, we had to import lot of wheat from US at that time. PL 365 something program of US, we had to import lot of wheat from US. But after that there was green revolution, and the production of the food grains, especially that of wheat and the rice, the staple food of India, the wheat and the rice, it increased to a great extent, and thus we were able to achieve food security. And again, after that, since there was no other means of entertainment like TV and everything, people again took some things in a very wrong way, and the population of India again went on increasing. ठीक है, it is good that we are having nowadays a lot of entertainment facilities like mobile phone and TV and everything. ठीक है, वरना कब का चाइना को क्रॉस कर गए रहते. ठीक है, if you talk about the density of India, the number of people living per square kilometer, it is referred to as the density. The number of people living per square kilometer, it is referred to as the density. If you talk about the latest data, the density of India, overall density of India, it is 464 per square kilometer. Now again, there are a lot of variations in India, and we will see all those variations with the help of graph. Then if you talk about infant mortality rate, Now, what is infant mortality rate? The death of an infant before his or her first birthday, that is in the first year itself. The death of an infant before his or her first birthday, it is referred to as the infant mortality rate. This rate was quite high in India, but slowly and steadily, with government efforts, with the increase in literacy rate and overall education. Okay, I'm using these terms separately, literacy and education. There is quite a difference in this. Okay, we'll cover later on, but there is quite a difference. Abhi ke liye itna samajh lena, theek hai? Many people are literate but still they are uneducated. Okay, then because of the improvement in literacy, then the health facilities, uh, honorable prime minister, he has launched n number of schemes. Means there, these schemes were already there, but their awareness was not to that extent. The prime minister has used his aura to a great significance to spread awareness about different schemes. Okay, beti bachao, beti padhao and all. So all these things, they have helped in raising, in decreasing the infant mortality rate in India. We have Mission Indradhanush. Then the Food Security Act itself, it was passed in 2013. Okay, under this act, subsidized food grains are provided at a very, very low cost. Okay, rupees, if you talk about rice, rice is provided under Food Security Act. If you talk about rice, people receive 1 kg of rice at a price of 3 rupees. Okay, 3 rupees per kg. Then if you talk about wheat, wheat at 2 per kg, and coarse cereals or grains at a price of 1 rupee per kg. So the government has ensured by providing these food grains at a very, very low price to the people to ensure food security. With food security, the health of the poor people, it has improved to a great extent, and thus overall the other indicators, they are also decreasing. Okay, these have a quite significant impact on the overall human population. Then if you talk about the next indicator, that is the neonatal mortality rate. Okay, neonatal mortality rate, it is the children that are lost in the first 28 days of the after the birth. Okay, so the neonatal, the number of deaths during first 28 completed days of life per 1000 live births, it is also now decreased from almost 29. You can say it was almost 29 deaths per 1000 live birth. Now it is decreased to 21 deaths per 1000 live birth. Then there is under 5 mortality rate, the children which are lost before reaching the age of 5 years, it has also decreased. Then the maternal mortality rate, the mothers which are lost during the days of pregnancy and everything during the childbirth, it was also quite high. If you talk about the 2017-18, the number was 103 per lakh live births. Okay, per lakh, there is a difference over here, just remember this. अभी के लिए ये बस नोट डाउन करके रखना, because these terms you will regularly hear in news. And why I am providing you this data is, there is, during your preparation, during your preparation, there will be n number of factual information that you will be receiving. Okay, so there will be certain factual information, factual data with respect to population. There will be certain factual data with respect to GDP, economy. There will be certain factual information regarding other social indicators like poverty, how much is the poverty rate. Always ensure that you make one notebook or one booklet for all factual data. Okay, for all factual data, because in your examination, in your answers, if you're quoting these factual information, your answer becomes quite objective. If you're quoting these factual data, your answer becomes quite objective. In the examination, the answer copies which I regularly evaluate, I find that people are writing in a very subjective and layman terms that if you're talking about the population, or let's say if there's a question on health indicators, people will simply write the population density of India has increased to a great extent. Okay, has increased to a great extent. That is why we are facing resource crunch. But if you are quoting this term, this figure, it makes your answer quite objective, and it looks that an some aspirant or a future administrator is providing the information. Varna, it is just like a 12th standard guy writing his arts commerce paper. Fine. So always ensure that you have some little bit of factual information. Now, some of you might feel that बहुत ज़्यादा factual चीज़ें भी याद कैसे करें? Trust me, you have to. Okay, you have to. At the end of the year, you'll find that if you're gathering such factual information, there will be hardly 10 to 12 pages. Okay, 10 to 12 pages ratta marna, it is not a big deal. And you read all these terms, figures so many times during your preparation, okay, that automatically it get you can say it feeds in your mind. Fine. So these are the different terms. Then let's move back to our here. So this is about the population size, the census. Okay, the first census, it was conducted in 1872. Okay, the first census, but it was to a limited extent. The holistic census, it was conducted in 1881. Fine. So remember this factual information. Then, as I've said, the population of India with respect to the world, it is almost now you can call 18%. Okay, almost 18% to that of the world. Then it talk about the area. Then, if you talk about the distribution of population in terms of with respect to different states, Uttar Pradesh is the most populated state of India. Then we have Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal, and Andhra Pradesh. So, if you look at the figures, almost 50% of the population of India is residing in these five states. If you look at 16, 19, 9, 8, 7, this would have increased much more now because this data is quite old. It is a 2011 data provided by the census report. Fine. If you talk about the overall population, almost these five states, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal, and Andhra Pradesh, almost 50% of the population is residing in these states. So studying population becomes crucial because this helps us in analyzing how we should provide resources to the people. Okay, and we if we have to achieve the overall development of India, it is necessary that whatever the reasons are there that why so many people are residing in India, that means there might be certain better facilities in these states. Okay, Uttar Pradesh, it is improving nowadays. Okay, some of you are smiling. Uttar Pradesh is improving to a great extent. Fine. And it is only because now population studies that we have realized that whatever good facilities are there in other states, we need to build those facilities. We need to diversify the income resources of the people and everything that will ultimately help us in bringing about a balance and balance in terms of overall population distribution of India. Fine. So this makes studying the population quite crucial. Fine. So in a couple of months, when you get a new census report, at that time you'll get a better data on all these things. So don't go through these things, okay, because it will become a redundant work for you people. But just remember that Uttar Pradesh is the most populated state of India, and these are the five states in which almost 50% of the population is residing. Fine. So if you talk about the density of the population is highest. It is highest in West Bengal and Bihar. Fine. It is highest in West Bengal and Bihar. It is more than 1000 people, okay, residing in a particular square kilometer of area. Then There are other places as well. For example, Delhi also has a very high density of population. Then there are in some metropolitan cities. There are metropolitan cities as well. Other metropolitan cities like Mumbai we have. Then there is Hyderabad. There is Bengaluru, where the density of population is quite high. In terms of lowest density, the lowest density can be found in the Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, and the Himachal, Uttarakhand, then northeastern some states, then Rajasthan. So basically, here the density is quite low because of the geographical conditions. Because of the geographical conditions, if you talk about the northernmost states, northernmost union territories, there we have seen there are Himalayas, and those mountains are way too quite large. Same is the case with the Arunachal Pradesh, then again Sikkim as well. Okay, so because of these, the density in these areas, it's quite low. Okay, it is quite low, it is significantly low in these states. Fine. Then if you talk about Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, over here there is quite a lot of area under forest. If you talk about Madhya Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh has the largest area under forest cover in India. Fine. As a result, the population density here also, it is little bit below the national average. Then there are other states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and Jharkhand, where the population density is in line with that of the national average density of India. Fine. So any queries up till here? Any doubts or any queries up till here? These are quite simple things. Fine. Then, if you talk about the next thing that occurs is the population growth and processes of the population change. As I've said, that the population of India has been increasing, but if you talk about the annual growth rate, the annual growth rate, it is little bit varying. Okay, it is little bit varying. After 1971, the population growth rate was way too high. It almost crossed 2%. Then stayed steadily from 2001. This has been a decreasing trend has been observed in terms of population growth rate. It has been occurring because mostly because of the awareness. Okay, and the most important factor that has led to the decreasing growth rate of population in India is the literacy rate and the education. Okay, there was a national population policy in 2000. Fine. It basically focused on increasing the literacy rate and the education levels in India. If women are empowered, okay, if women and educated women, nowadays she has, mostly in a family you'll find that she takes the decision how many kids they are going to have. Okay, so it is quite important that women are educated. Okay, women are economically independent, so they will be in a position to take better decisions for themselves. Okay, because ultimately it is the women that will be the bearing the child. Fine. So it is quite important that education is provided to women. Fine. And you can say women empowerment is carried on. Fine. So any queries in here? So you can see from 2001 and later on, the growth rate of the population of India has been decreasing. But there is an anomaly over here. It is not mentioned anywhere. If you look at certain data, okay, certain data, you'll find that the women in labor force, that means workforce, they their rate, their percentage, it has been decreasing since 1990. It has been decreasing since 1990. But a while ago, I said that economically independent women is free to take her own decisions for what is good for herself. But simultaneously, the workforce rate, the participation of females in the workforce and the work culture, it has been decreasing, because there is one more factor which has played a quite a crucial role in this. It is the income. Okay, if you talk about after 1990 in economy, you'll study economic reforms. Okay, after 1990, after the liberalization of economy, the income of the people has increased to a great extent. And nowadays, what is happening? पति काम कर रहा है तो ठीक है. Okay, so this type of tendency has also been found, that the husband is working and he's earning a good amount of income, and as a result women are, after having a child, usually because of the n number of social things, she usually give up her work, and as a result the percentage of women in workforce, it has little bit decreased. Fine. But if you talk about the rural and the urban areas, in rural areas, the participation of women in work is quite high as compared to that in urban areas. Okay, the participation of women in work, it is quite high in rural areas as compared to that of urban areas, because lot of the male population in rural areas, in search of better economic opportunities, they tend to migrate to urban areas, and whatever the agriculture fields and other subsistence farming and activities that are left behind, those are usually carried on by the women. Fine. So there are n number of initiatives that have been undertaken to ensure that these women, they continue to work and as well as get some good income, and thus help in overall development of India. Fine. So these are little bit of terms which will be covered in different things. Then, as I've said, that the population growth rate it is decreasing to a great extent. Fine. The government has taken very good steps. In fact, in lot of government jobs, okay, in many states, even in UPSC as well, if you are having two plus more child, then the third child, okay, the incentives and everything that are provided, it goes on decreasing. Fine. Like maternity leaves and all everything. So all these things will be covered later on. Fine. So India's population growth rate from 1951 till 2011, you can see, after almost, you can say, 1981, there is a decreasing trend in overall population in terms of rate. Fine. This we have already seen. Then any queries, any doubts over here? Now let's see the topic on population change and growth. How does a population actually changes? Okay, the population basically changes. It depends on the three factors. The first is the birth rate, the second is the death rate, and third is the migration. Okay, birth rate means how many number of children, how many number of live births per 1,000 person in a year. Okay, so can I say in India the population has increased quite drastically after, especially about 1971. So can I say from there onwards the birth rate in India has been quite high? Okay, so the birth rate in India has been quite high. Then the second factor which leads to the changes in the population is the death rate. Okay, if lot many people are dying, okay, ultimately the overall population will go on decreasing, so it also plays a crucial role. Then the most significant role, you can say, is played by the migration nowadays. Okay, so just now we saw the rural urban migration is there. Then there is, you can say, international migration is also taking place, especially from India to other Western countries. So this also causes changes in the overall population. There is internal migration that is taking place within India, and there is international migration. In your optional, in your optional, you'll find that there are different theories. There are different theories related to your migration. For example, with respect to the major aspects like social, economic, geographical, and unifying. Fine. So these are different broad terms under which we different geographers have given their important theories. We won't be studying all these theories in your geography, but there are few important theories like intervening opportunities theory of Stauffer. Now I'll just explain in brief, okay, because it is not feasible to explain this entire theory in a short while. In India, let's take an example. There is a lot of migration taking place from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar to Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Chennai. Okay, so these are the select places where usually the migration is taking place. These states are receiving in migration, and there is an out migration from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. So it is quite essential that we provide employment or economic opportunities for the people of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar at their own places, or at other intermediate places, let's say Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and everywhere. Okay, so this theory, it talks about intervening opportunities. We need to provide them other opportunities of earning their livelihoods in their own local places itself. Fine. So this topic of population of India, I am talking about paper 2. But these theories are in your paper 1. So in just a brief, I have explained you how you are going to relate paper 2 with paper 1. Fine. This will be done in detail in your optional. I hope this is clear. Fine. Then there are other theories as well. There are push and pull factors. Usually in rural areas, we have a very caste system in India. Okay, we have caste system in India, and especially people from lower caste, okay, they undergo a lot of atrocities and everything at certain places. So what happen, in search of better opportunities, they usually try to migrate to urban areas where there is more of social cohesion. Okay, here we won't find the caste and everything to that extent in Delhi. Fine. So this acts as a push factor for people moving in from their rural areas towards the urban areas. Now we can Lee was the geographer who gave this theory, so we can link Lee's model of migration in your paper 2. Fine. So this is in brief, I'm explaining you about the interlinking of paper 2 and paper 1. Fine. So there are other theories as well. Cumulative causation theory, it was given by Massey. It is quite important. Then the mobility transition theory was given by Zelensky. That is important. Then gravity theory by J.K. Ziff. J.K. Ziff, it is also quite important. Then we also have the neoclassical theory of Todaro. Then other theories as well. So I've just given you a brief. Okay, because most of the things, these things no one will tell you, and in examination, in writing your answers, this is the basic problem that people face, how to interlink. बहुत बार सुना होगा, बहुत बार टॉपर्स लोग बोलते हैं कि पेपर 1 पेपर 2 को लिंक करो, कैसे करना है ये तो बता भाई. Okay, so this is the brief. Okay, in your classes I'll be taking in all these things in detail. At every point I'll be mentioning you can use this theory, how you can use this theory in other things. Then there is age composition. As I've initially in brief, as I've said, children below the age below 15 years, they are considered as children. It is a dependent population. Fine. It is completely dependent for food, clothing, education, everything on their guardians or on their parents. Then the next work is the working age group from 15 to 59 years. Okay, from 15 to 59 years is the working age group where people usually go to work and support not just the biological reproduction of or the entire population, but as well as help in the development of economy and overall development of the human life. If you talk about the age structure of India, almost 58 is given over here, but it is little bit more. Okay, it is somewhere around 63%. Fine. So 63% of the population in India is the working age population. Fine. So this is quite crucial because सारे के सारे अगर काम पे हो, then that will ultimately help in the overall economic development of India. And this concept is nothing but the demographic dividend. Okay. Demo means population, graphy means study of the population, and dividend means the benefits that we are getting from the population. But providing employment to all this working age group, it is quite difficult. There have been incident of celebrating 17th September as an unemployment day. ठीक है. People shouldn't do this thing, but ठीक है. That's a issue. Okay. And the government, it is the responsibility of the government to look into this issue. The population of India is quite large, the working age population of India is quite large, so the government has to take steps to provide employment opportunities to all. Fine. But um, there has to be a two-way. Okay. Even people, will be some people that those will be criticizing the government, that we want employment opportunity, but always ensure that you develop certain skills within yourself. You develop certain skills within yourself. Now UPSC itself, you prepare for at least 1 year, 1.5 year thoroughly, and I assure you that you will never ever die in your life without food. ठीक है. 1.5 साल सही से प्रिपेयर करो. देर आर एन नंबर ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज. एंड डोंट मेक अ रिजिड माइंडसेट कि बस एग्जाम एग्जाम एग्जाम. यू कैन मूव इन टू एनी अदर फील्ड. ओके. यू कैन गो फॉर योर मास्टर्स, यू कैन गो फॉर योर PhD. ठीक है. अगर यहाँ पे देर इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल दैट ऑल विल क्लियर. It's a fact. It is not possible that all will clear the exam. It all depends how you're channeling yourself in this 1.5 year. But if you utilize this 1.5 year quite crucially, okay, you have studied all the topics quite well, you can go into any other field. यहाँ पे भी आ सकते हो टीचिंग करने. ठीक है. तो ऐसा है. But it requires little bit of interest and choice as well. Fine. So that's not the thing. Then if you talk about the aged is the group usually considered as above 60. Okay, more than 59. It is quite important to study this aspect as well. Okay, as I've said, we have a lot of population in the working age group. So accordingly the government will plan. According to the government will have to plan. You as an administrator, future administrator, it will be your responsibility to look at all these data and accordingly take steps to provide the needs, to assure the needs of the people. Fine. So that's why it becomes quite crucial. In coming years, the aged population of India will decrease because we have seen the growth rate is decreasing. The growth rate of India is decreasing. As a result, in future, there will be lot of population in the aged group. So the government, the administrators will have to ensure we provide them better health facilities. Okay, so health is going to be a very crucial factor in coming decades. Fine. So all these terms, these things, we are able to analyze by studying all these data. Fine. Then the next thing, if you talk about, is the sex ratio. Fine. The sex ratio of India, it has been quite poor, you can say, okay, for quite a long time. But the recent data, the very recent data has found that the sex ratio of India has improved to a great extent and it has almost crossed 1,000. Okay, per per thousand male. It is somewhere around, I think, 28 per thousand male population. Okay, but it is only at the birth. Okay, at birth the sex ratio of India has improved. It is 1028 female per thousand male. Fine. This has India has been able to achieve it because of the initiatives. As I've said, there was an initiative, Beti Bachao Beti Padhao. Okay, there were few select states where the sex ratio was quite poor. Okay, for example, Haryana, where the sex ratio was quite poor. That's why when this initiative was launched, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, the first, you can say, the rally, or you can say program or seminar, okay, it was conducted by the Prime Minister in Haryana, okay, so that the awareness is spread from over there. So it is quite important. Then there are certain states which have always have a quite significant sex ratio. For example, it is Kerala, then Puducherry, where the sex ratio has been quite better. If you look at Delhi, it was 866 only per thousand male, so it has been quite poor in Delhi. There is also one reason for having a very poor sex ratio in Delhi is because of the migration. Is because of the migration. Lot many people, especially the male population from neighboring states, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, then from here, Haryana, they migrate to Delhi and they stay in Delhi for quite a long period of time. Whereas their wives, they are in their home states. Okay, so this has also been a quite reason for poor sex ratio of Delhi. Then, if you talk about the literacy rate in India has increased quite significantly. Har saal, every 10 years, it increases by 10%. पता नहीं कैसे इतना बढ़ जाता है. Okay, because 10% is quite significant. Fine. 10%, you can just imagine 10% of 120 crore. 12 करोड़ लोगों को कहाँ से इतना पढ़ा रहे, पता नहीं, इतने तो स्कूल भी नहीं. But still we have to trust the reports. Okay, we have to trust the report. And it is now almost around 74%. Okay, it is. And who is considered as a literate? A person who is aged 7 years and above, who can read and write with understanding in any language, is treated as a literate person. Okay, is considered, he or she is considered as a literate person. Always, if you observe keenly, I am always using the terms human, he or she. Okay, in exam also, always try to be gender neutral. Okay, आंसर्स लिखोगे, कोई भी टॉपिक्स लिखोगे, एवरी टाइम ट्राई टू बी जेंडर न्यूट्रल इन ऑल योर एस्पेक्ट्स. ठीक है, फाइन. सो द लिटरेसी रेट ऑफ इंडिया, इट इज कितना अभी पता नहीं, द लिटरेसी रेट कंट्री 73%. It is high for the males and low for the females. Okay, so can anyone just tell why do such differences exist? Why? Patriarchal mindset. Okay, patriarchal mindset. This has been a quite a social evil in India. I'm using the term social evil in India. Okay, the patriarchal mindset, because of which there is there are other social issues like child marriages are taking place. Fine. So immediately, so at certain places, immediately a girl, after clearing just a fourth standard, they are forced into marriages. Okay, there are other places, especially in Rajasthan and other, you can say, backward regions and tribal areas and everything. There are child marriages quite prevalent. Not just in backward areas, even in cities at certain places you will find that. Okay, so this is a social cause. Then we also have the occupational structure, one more class in way in which the population of India is classified is the population structure in different types of occupation. Okay, in different types of occupation, different people are engaged. There are primary sector, secondary, and tertiary. Just now I said, in rural areas, the workforce of women is little bit higher. Okay, more women are engaged in rural areas in working activities. Okay, especially in the agriculture sector. So primary sector, agriculture, which is the primary sector, agriculture, which is the primary sector, here more women are engaged in rural areas. Then there are other sectors like secondary and the tertiary sector. The secondary and the tertiary sector, usually secondary sectors are mining industries, sorry, the manufacturing industries, manufacturing, construction work, building, everything. In construction work also, you will find that mostly majority are male population. Okay, majority is the male population. So the occupational structure also helps us in analyzing and knowing in which group, the in which sectors where there are more male and more female populations. Fine. Then there are tertiary sector. If you talk about tertiary sector, means services. The transport, if you talk about transport, will rarely find a female truck driver. Okay, in India will rarely find a female truck driver, but it is important that even women get engaged into such activities. Okay, because we all know there are n number of truck drivers. Okay, they drive at night time, and there are a lot of road accidents taking place, because we often hear in the news that drunk and drive cases. Okay, so just imagine a female driving a truck. I don't assume that women do drink, but not to that level. At least they'll take care of at least they'll take care of consuming something which is better, because it has observed that the male truck drivers, they usually consume way too hard alcohol. Okay, way too hard alcohol, desi. Okay. So at least I don't know if women are also fond of these, but overall in general we can say the road accident to bach jayega yaar. ठीक है. So then the next important factor, as I've said, health. Health is also quite crucial. If you talk about the life expectancy, the life expectancy is a quite important indicator of the development of any nation. Okay, life expectancy means after birth for how much year that person will live, okay, or will survive. In India, if you talk about in 1951, the life expectancy was only 36.7 years. Life expectancy was only 36.7 years. The latest figure, as per latest figure, it is now almost 69.7 years. Okay, 69.7 years. But here 67.9 years, as per the 2012 data. You will get the latest data in some or the other section of the news. But this is a quite important, because there is every year there is a one important report, human development index and human development report, okay, which is released by different institutions. In that, there is the life expectancy is an important indicator how a nation is developing. How the health facilities, we all know what was the situation of India in second wave. Okay, many would have also felt it. Many, some of you might even would have, किसी का कोई लॉस ऑल्सो हुआ होगा. ठीक है. आई लॉस्ट फ्यू कपल ऑफ मीन्स माई फ्रेंड्स फादर, he died. He was a doctor, but still unfortunately he lost his life due to COVID. Fine, because of the shortage of the healthcare facilities. It was mostly because of the shortage of the healthcare facility. Fine. So that's why healthcare is quite a crucial thing. If you talk about the expenditure by the government, it is still not that significant. It is still almost around somewhere around 2% of GDP. Okay, 2% of GDP. It is quite way too below than as compared to the other nations where there is almost around 3 to 4% of the GDP. So India need to increase its expenditure on the health. Okay, then there is a population, the adolescent population, generally age group between 10 to 19 years. They are considered as the adolescent. Fine. It is quite important to study about this age group as well. Okay, because we need to provide them with proper education and other nutritional needs. Okay, as I've said at the beginning, human resource is the best resource, okay, for the development of not just the human population, but you can also say for the overall development of the world, the human resource. Because only human is referred to as a social animal. Okay, social animal, I mean social animal, because we are in a position to not just think about ourselves, but also about the animal population as well as that of the overall planet Earth. Fine. So it is only we who are able to think of all these things. That's why the overall development of the human population is quite crucial. And the most important years of development are the 10 to 19 years. ओके, 10 से लेके 19 साल के बीच में जो डेवलपमेंट होती है, इट इज क्वाइट क्रूशियल. देन that's why we have to take care of the nutritional requirement of the adolescents. Fine. So that the child that develops, he is quite healthy and thus ultimately joins the workforce in a better health with a sound mind, and thus help the overall development of the nation. Fine. Then if it is found that a large number of adolescent girls, they suffer from anemia. Okay. Anemia, not that proper development of the cognitive skills is lacking. Then the next topic, any queries, any doubts up till here? Okay, कुछ everything is fine. Okay. The next topic is the national population policy. Now, india was the first country India was the first country in the world to come up with a family planning program. India came up with a family planning program in 1952. At that time, no other country in the world was thinking about family planning, but it was India. So India came up with a comprehensive plan of family planning program in 1952. But still, still the population, sorry, but still the population of India went on increasing. गॉड नोज, बस पेपर पे ही रखा था फैमिली प्लानिंग, और रादर फैमिली प्लानिंग में लिखा क्या था, बढ़ाना था या क्या था. Okay, but we came up with another national population policy in 2000. Okay, considering looking at how drastically the population of India is increasing, and ultimately it will hamper the growth of the nation. Okay, because population, optimum population is good, means population up to a certain level is good for sustaining the overall development, but beyond a particular limit it becomes quite difficult, because we all know the resources that are present on earth are limited. Okay, the resources present on earth are limited, as Mahatma Gandhi ji has said. Okay, Gandhi ji has said that there is enough for the survival of everyone, but there is not enough for the greed of everyone. Fine. There is not enough to satisfy the greed of humans. ठीक है, अगर खाना मिल रहा है तो ऐसा नहीं कि खाते ही जाओ. ठीक है, चार पांच रोटी खा लो, ठीक है. देर वॉज दिस थिंग इन न्यूज ड्यूरिंग लॉकडाउन. Okay, one guy in Bihar, his name, he was named as Petu, if you would have heard that news. Okay, so he was quarantined and community food was provided to him, and he used to consume almost around 34 35 rotis at a time. पता नहीं मतलब क्या ही है. ठीक है. So we came up with the national population policy 2000. So the most important aspect in this, as I've said, was imparting free and compulsory school education up to 14 years of age. So the first thing that this policy ensured, that school education up to 14 years of age. Then, as I've talked about the different indicators, reducing the infant mortality rate to below 30 per thousand live birth. Infant mortality rate reducing below 30 per thousand live birth. Now we have been able to achieve it. Now we have further lowered our targets, means we are now going to achieve somewhere around 20 deaths per thousand live birth. Okay, so as I've said that these data, they are now quite old, but keep a tap on the news section and try to update it. Then there were preventable diseases. We have become polio free. Okay, polio free India has become polio free, then there were other n number of diseases. The government launched initiatives. In 1995 there was midday meal scheme. Okay, meal scheme was launched that ensured that food was provided in during the school time, so that there is no child labor taking place. So to avoid child labor, the government ensured that food will be provided to the children in the school. So it served both purpose. It served both purpose. The literacy rate increased. That is, students, the childrens, they started attending schools, and the most burden that their parents that were facing of providing food to their children, that was also provided. Okay, so midday meal scheme is a quite a good scheme, as it serves both the purpose, education as well as the food security. Fine. Then recently also there was a scheme, Mission Indradhanush. Under this, different vaccines were provided to the children under various normal diseases like tetanus and everything. Fine. So you can go through that. Then promoting delayed marriage for girls. This is quite important. In fact, the West Bengal government has also launched a scheme in which, if the every month rupees 500 is deposited in the account of the girl child, and once she crosses the 18 years of age, a lump sum amount of 25,000 rupees 25,000 is deposited in her account. So what parents do, they try to delay the marriage. If in case someone is marrying before the age of 18 itself, then that amount of money won't be deposited in the account, and plus it is an legal offense. Okay, crime hai if you are marrying if the girl child is forced to marry before the age of 18. So but it is not possible to go and look for every other, हर एक की शादी में तो जाके नहीं देख सकते. ठीक है, डीएम को यही काम नहीं है कि हर एक की शादी में जाके देख रहे भाई 18 साल के ऊपर है क्या नहीं. ठीक है, सो पीपल वर इन सम और द अदर वे छोटी सी शादी रखेंगे घर में, दे विल कंप्लीट इट, and in such way also the child marriages is taking place. But now let's say, if when the girl is completing 18 years and the family will receive some good amount of money, so what they will do, it is a psychological thing that they will automatically delay the marriage. ठीक है, डिले करेंगे मैरिज वो. सो सच टाइप ऑफ इनिशिएटिव्स आर undertaken by different state governments as well as the center government. So making family for ensuring family, this thing, all these steps are taken. Then sex education is also quite essential. Sex education in the school itself, initially this was a quite, you can say, a controversial topic, but now people have understood the importance of all these things, and slowly and steadily in Delhi also, and slowly and steadily in other schools, other states, in backward other regions as well, a significant importance is given to this topic. Fine. So this is about the overall population of India. So any queries, any doubts up till here? Okay. So we saw how to utilize the factual information. Okay. Why studying this factual information, why studying this factual data helps us in understanding n number of other things, n number of other social issues. Fine. If you talk about the distribution of population, see, if you look at this map, the density of this is the density, but if you talk about migration, we all know that lot of migration is taking place from the Uttar Pradesh and Bihar towards the southern and the central states. Fine. Now, this topic was also quite hot, that Yogi ji is trying to set up a film city in Uttar Pradesh. Right. It is a good thing. It is a good thing. ठीक है, because most of the population from here, it is attracted to Mumbai because of the film industry. It is because of the film industry that is getting attracted. So can I say that film industry is acting as a pull factor for this population? Okay, and we all know that Mumbai is, it's a quite a small region. Okay, it is quite a small area, and plus it is so much overcrowded that it is quite difficult. So it is important for the different governments, institutions, to ensure that they stop overcrowding of such places, because the growth will be localized in this region only. फाइन, सो ठीक है, एस्टेब्लिश कर रहे हो कर लो, ठीक है, इंश्योर करना कि वैसे ही टाइप के मूवीज बने ठीक है, नहीं तो पता चले धार्मिक मूवीज बनने लग गए. Then there is also, you can talk about Gujarat. There is International Financial Tech City. Okay, International Financial Tech City near Ahmedabad. So Mumbai, which is the financial capital of India, lot of financial activities are taking place. So we are now trying to diversify. If you talk about the International Solar Alliance, the headquarter of International Solar Alliance, सुना इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस इन न्यूज, ठीक है, हेडक्वार्टर इज इन गुड़गांव, ठीक है, गुड़गांव. सो नाउ व्हाट वी आर डूइंग इज दिल्ली, हियर लॉट ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशंस आर प्रेजेंट, लॉट ऑफ ऑफिसेस एंड एवरीथिंग, द डेंसिटी ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन इज क्वाइट हाई, ओवर क्राउडेड हो रहा है, तो इसलिए उसको, it is important that we shift some of the little bit of not so important institutions away. Okay, periphery NCR region में shift कर दो, so that the pressure on the center area will decrease. Fine. And thus providing resources at the other places, it becomes quite easy. Fine. So studying population helps us in analyzing all these things. Fine. So that's why we study the topic of population. Any queries, any doubts up till here? So shall we move to the next topic? Indian diaspora means Indian people, okay, Indian citizens residing outside India in some other countries. Fine, simple. For example, Prime Minister has gone to Germany. There was lot many people welcoming him. सारे Indian ही थे. So those who are Indian diaspora, that is welcoming. Fine. Always be neutral in all aspect. As an aspirant, as a future administrator, politically neutral रहो, ठीक है, कोई भी उकसाता है किसी भी पार्टी का, politically neutral रहो, gender neutral रहो, ठीक है. So you will be able to build that personality, okay, for your interview as well. Because if you are little bit biased towards any other aspect, उन लोगों को तुरंत समझ में आ जाता है, ठीक है. So usually UPSC don't force you in asking any political based question. They usually stick to the issues, the social issues and the major other economic issues which the country is facing, and you as a future administrator, how you will tackle all these things. So shall we move to the next topic? Reverse migration. The many people, for example, during COVID, as I said, there was people are migrating to, let's say, Mumbai from UP because of the film industry. Everything was closed because of the lockdown, so they didn't have their survival. Most of the people live hand to mouth life. That means सुबह जो कमाएंगे रात को उससे से खाना खाएंगे, ठीक है. But everything was locked down, so people started migrating to back to their hometown. So reverse migration, they came from here, okay, going back again. So reverse migration. See, at different places there was different kinds of you can say migration. Now if you talk about rural to urban, okay, there will be hardly any example where rural people are migrating from rural to urban areas when it comes to reverse migration, okay. Because most of the economic centers, most of the growth pole of India, you'll study about the growth pole concept. Most of the growth pole of India, we have select growth poles in India, okay. You won't find any person who is living who is a resident of Delhi and he is working in some rural area and now he's going back. You can give little bit of example. For example, just imagine uh, a person who is working in some PSU which is located somewhere in Himachal Pradesh. ओके, अभी हिमाचल प्रदेश में एक पब्लिक सेक्टर कंपनी है, लेट्स से a pharmaceutical company is there. Himachal Pradesh has the largest pharmaceutical industries of India. Okay, it is also called as, there is a district, but the district in Himachal Pradesh, it is referred to as the pharma capital of Asia, because most of the pharmaceutical companies are located over there because of tax incentives and all. We'll study later on. So, but if you look at the overall district, okay, there is not that much urban amenities over there. So though people, those who are working over there, they again migrated back to their home state. So in this case, I can say from rural they are coming back to the urban areas. But still we can't say that, because lot many industries are over there. Still we can consider it in a form a developed district. Fine. बट एक एग्जांपल के तौर पे बस याद रख सकते हो, ठीक है, क्योंकि इफ यू गो अवे फ्रॉम दैट बद्दी डिस्ट्रिक्ट, हिमाचल प्रदेश इज मोस्टली माउंटेनस एंड हिली टेरेन्स. ओके, सो लॉट मेनी ट्राइबल पॉपुलेशन एंड एवरीथिंग आर देयर. आपको ठंड लग रही है क्या? यार बाहर 44 डिग्री है. कहाँ जा रहे थे? अच्छा, ठीक है, होता है. यू कैन सेट फार अवे फ्रॉम द एसी. So let's move on to the next topic, that is resource and development. Yes, है इसी में आगे है, इसी में आगे है, ठीक है. Resource and development. As I've said in a short while ago, that human resource is the most important resource. Okay, because it interlinks with the physical environment, the nature. Then there are different technology and the institutions. For example, if you talk about coal, okay, coal as a resource, it is completely useless if we do not have the technology to make proper use of coal. ओके, अगर कोल को थर्मल पावर प्लांट ही नहीं है जहाँ पे कोल यूज होगा, then what's the use of coal? If human beings are not there, coal is nothing but a piece of a rock. So human as a resource lies at the center. So if we have the technology to utilize the coal, then plus there are different institutions, you can say the different authorities, different offices. Okay, different offices. For example, let's say a port facility है, ठीक है, a port facility. We have ports along the west and the east coast of India. We also get n number of goods from different countries. We also send different goods to other countries, so import export is taking place. So resources are coming, resources are going out. There are certain institutions that are managing the port, ठीक है. There will be a port authority that will be managing the port. So at every place there are humans who are at the center, which are conducting these different activities. So the human resource, okay, if you talk about a harbor, a port, okay, in natural terms it is a physical environmental natural state, एक geographical feature है, ठीक है. We have the technology, ships, okay, for utilizing that resource. Then we have the institutions for managing those resources, managing those ports in a proper way. That's why human beings, whatever we study in terms, it is related to human population. Fine. Then based on these things, the resources are a function of human activities. Human beings themselves are essential component of resources. They transform material available in our environment into resources and we use them. Okay, so we use these resources. They are classified into differently. If you talk about the origin from where we get the resources, if we are getting a resource from a living being, okay, if we are getting a resource from a living being, for example plants, okay, we are getting fruits from plants, so fruits as a resource, so they are living, we can call it as the biotic resource. They are called as the biotic resource. Then there are other abiotic resources. Abiotic resources like soil, okay, minerals, different minerals that we use, so they are the abiotic resources. Then how on these resources they deplete, okay, some resources are brought back, you can say they are renewed again. So on the basis of exhaustibility they are classified into renewable and non-renewable. We in our childhood days we have studied the hydrological cycle. Hydrological cycle, ठीक है, mountains, you can say, oh, water body, evaporation, then cloud formation, and ultimately precipitation. So this cycle, this hydrological cycle, it is taking place over and over again and again. So can I call water as a renewable resource? Fine. So water is getting renewed again and again. So we can call water as a renewable resource. Then there are non-renewable resources. We all know the mineral resources that we utilize, petroleum and everything. They are in finite number. They are in finite number. That's why they are called as the non-renewable resources. Fine. At one point of time there will come when all these petroleum products will get exhausted. Fine, they will be completely utilized. These products, they are also renewed, but their renewal time is way too large. Okay, they take millions and millions of years. We all know the petroleum products which are formed because of the different geological processes and the deposition of the organic material and everything. We'll study it later on. Fine. The dinosaurs that they were lost and all, ultimately they became a part of the coal and petroleum products. Fine. So but these are considered as the non-renewable resources. They will get exhausted over a period of time. Then on the basis of ownership, the resources are classified into individual, community, national and international. Okay, if uh, my mobile phone, it is my own, okay, so that is my individual resource. Fine. Then there are community resources. We have parks over here. Okay, parks over here that can be called as the community resources. Then we also have national resources that belongs to one particular country. Okay, the resources that belong to one particular country, it can be called as the national resources. For example, all the resources that are present in India, all the mineral resources, they belong to different states. Okay, respective states. Then some minerals which are in the coastal areas, beyond coastal regions, they up to 200 nautical miles, ये हम आगे जाके पढ़ेंगे. There are different maritime zones. ब्रीफ में बताता हूँ. Okay, suppose this is the peninsular India. Okay, peninsular India, from here up to 200 nautical miles. Okay, India has complete right to undertake exploration and extraction of minerals. Okay, complete rights for exploration and extraction of minerals. So whatever resources that are found over here, that belongs to our country. Fine, it belongs to our country, so it can be called as the national resources. Then there are international resources. Beyond 200 nautical miles, beyond 200 nautical miles, all the water that is present, it is considered as the international waters. So any country can come in over here with their boat and do fishing activities. Okay, they can do fishing activities, but still there are certain limitations and everything which we'll be talking later on. For example, India has received exploration and extraction rights of polymetallic nodules in the Central Indian Ocean region. ठीक है, it has been provided by the International Seabed Authority. In your news you'll often hear of these things. Okay, India has been provided exploration rights by International Seabed Authority for exploration of polymetallic nodules in the Central Indian Ocean region. ठीक है, ये ध्यान में रखना. Then there are n number of disputes that are going on in the South China Sea. Okay, with respect to different islands, वो भी न्यूज में रहेगा. ठीक है, ध्यान में रखना. So there are international resources. Then on the basis of the status of development, the resources are classified into potential, developed stock, and the reserves. So what is the difference between potential, developed stock, and the reserves? For example, uh, solar energy. We receive a lot of solar energy during the summer months, but we are not able to utilize the entire solar energy. So can I say that the potential to utilize this resource is quite high in India? Fine. So the potential for the utilization of solar energy is quite high in India. So such resources are called as the potential resources. The other example that can be given is, if you talk about the water resources in India, especially the groundwater resource in India, Punjab and Haryana, here the groundwater resources are utilized for more than 100%. Okay, more than 100% means whatever groundwater was there, it has already been utilized, and whatever during the monsoon season, whatever little bit of water percolates, even that is immediately utilized. Okay, so there is quite a lot of groundwater depletion in the northwestern part of India. Okay, but if you talk about the northeastern part of India, there usually the rainfall is quite significant, plus most of the area is under forest cover. As a result, the groundwater over there, it is quite significant and it has not been utilized completely. Okay, so the potential for the utilization of groundwater in northeastern states is quite high. So if you talk about the groundwater as a resource, the potential for its utilization in future, you never know that even these places might face water scarcity. Okay, there are going to be such events, and there are occurring such events at specific places where you will find that even at places where there is supposed to be very high rainfall, at such places also there are droughts taking place. Okay, so the potential of utilization of this resource quite be high. Then there are developed stocks. Developed stock means the resources, the utilization of particular resources, there is availability of technology. If you talk about petroleum products, we have cars, we have other sorts of engines, we have industries where those stock of resources, it can be immediately utilized. So such resources, it is called as the developed stock. Then there are reserves. Okay, for example, we are receiving cheaper oil now, little bit of cheaper oil now from Russia. ठीक है, सस्ते में मिल रहा है तो जमा कर लो. ठीक है, सो जमा कर रहे हैं अभी फिर. So reserves, so we are making reserves of these resources, so they are called as the reserve resources. Fine, India do not have significant oil resources. We almost 85% of the energy requirement is imported in India, and as a result we lose lot of foreign currency. ये सारा बाद में आएगा. ठीक है, अभी के लिए बस इतना ध्यान में रखो. ठीक है, resources, there's a classification given on the same: renewable, non-renewable, then continuous flow, wind, water, biological, natural vegetation and wildlife. Okay, then we have recyclable and the non-recyclable. Then we also human as the most important resource. There are structures and institution for utilization of human as a resource. Then there are different quantity and quality as well. Okay, at a particular place, at a particular, let's say, infrastructure activity, how much human resource do we need, and what quality of human resource we need. Okay, for example, if we an IT professional is there, so for working in an IT industry, he needs to have certain computer skills. So it's the quality, fine, and quantity, it's just the number, how much is required. Then, as I said, structures and institutions, different authorities and offices, you can call. Then these have been explained here as well. Okay, the international resources, the potential, the stock, and the developed resource. All that definition is given in your booklet, in the NCRT. Then there is an important thing, that is the development of resources. Resource planning is quite an important thing. Just now we study how, with the help of different population indicators, planning is quite important to manage the human population in different areas. ठीक है, we saw कि अगर there is lot of migration taking place from certain northern states to southern states, so we are ensuring, we are providing them economic opportunities in their states only. So this is what we are doing, we are managing human resource. Can I say that we are managing human resource? So management and development of resources is quite an essential thing. Not just human resource, but we also need to manage other resources as well, for especially the fossil fuels and all the energy resources and all. Okay, in India, not all places receive 24/7 electricity. Okay, so can I say proper management distribution of these energy things is also important. So development of energy resources and as well as planning is essential, fine. Then there is a concept called as sustainable development. Now what is sustainable development? सुना है नाम? ठीक है, क्या है सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट? देख के मत बता। हाँ, बहुत बार सुना होगा, ठीक है। सो इट इज नथिंग बट द economic development that is taking place, that we should take place without damaging or without causing harm to our environment, and also ensuring that these benefits are received by our future generations, ठीक है। प्रेजेंट में कुछ हो नहीं रहा, फ्यूचर की सोच रहा, ठीक है। देन देर आर डिफरेंट, यू कैन से कन्वेंशंस, ठीक है, प्रोटोकॉल्स है टू सेव our environment, to ensure sustainable development. Okay, so one such important is the Earth Summit of 1992. Okay, before this, in 1972 there was Stockholm Conference. Okay, 1972 में एक Stockholm Conference हुई थी. In that conference we started thinking of the environment. As I said in this very start, that everything that we look around us, we tend to look only from the human perspective. It was in after 1972 we also started thinking of environment from animals, from the wildlife, from the different vegetation, forest vegetation, from its perspective. But ultimately in that also हमारा ही है फायदा, ठीक है। That's why we started looking from the environment angle as well. So there was a summit in there was a conference in 1972, Stockholm Conference. Then later on in 1982 there was a Nairobi conference. Then in 1992, where actually people got very serious about the environment. Okay, because it was felt that in few years the climate was changing quite drastically. Okay, climate was changing quite drastically. In 1970s and 80s there was occurrence of ozone hole taking place. Okay, there was occurrence of ozone hole taking place, and as a result, before this summit happened, there was also Vienna Convention in 1985, which talked about the ozone depletion. okay, which talked about ozone depletion. Ozone layer is quite crucial to us. Ozone layer का significance पता है क्या है? हाँ, एक जन. So it reflects back the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun. But at places there was occurrence of ozone hole, okay, especially in the southern pole and the northern pole. Why? It will covered in the climatology aspect. Okay. Then in Vienna, 1985, there was this convention. Then to make nations, people realize the government realized that ozone hole is taking place. Now just imagine entire ozone हट जाता है, how significant impact it will have on all lives. Okay, आधे से ज़्यादा तो उड़ जाएंगे. ठीक है, there are chances of cancer, everything. Fine. So people got serious, the government got serious about it, and to ensure that the ozone depletion is restricted, they also came in with a protocol. Okay, there's a difference between convention and a protocol. Protocol means rule binding, okay, binding rules. Whenever you hear these terms, convention means simply a set of rules are made, but in a protocol you have to follow those rules, those are binding on you. So there was a Montreal protocol in 1987, okay, immediately after 2 years, where all the nations, they were asked to cut down the use of uh, chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs. Okay, so all this you will study in the environment part. Fine. Then recently in 2016, we also got a more advanced Kigali Agreement. Okay, in Kigali Agreement also, different nations have made different, you can say, promises to cut down their HFCs now, hydrofluorocarbons, because these are considered as the ozone depleting agents. Fine, ये सारा environment में आ जाएगा. But so we got serious about the environment slowly and steadily, and the major breakthrough came during the Rio summit in 1992. Fine, so major breakthrough came in during the 1992 Earth Summit. Then during this summit, there was also Agenda 21. Now, what was Agenda 21? It was different steps that different government should take place for the upcoming 21st century, for the overall environmental development of the 21st century. So ये 21 मतलब 21st century. Okay, so Agenda 21 for achieving sustainable development in 21st century. So different government made different list of things. हम लोग ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे, will plant so many trees, will increase the forest cover. हाँ, ठीक है, हम गाड़ी नहीं चलाएंगे, पैदल घूमेंगे हर जगह पे, मतलब ऐसे कुछ भी. कुछ भी. It is these steps are essential, but the thing is that no one is taking the responsibility. Okay, if you talk about India, we got independence in 1947, and then on, slowly and steadily we started developing our industries and everything. But if you talk about the developed world, if you talk about USA, okay, it is independent since कब हुआ था? 1776 4 July. ठीक है, तो it is almost 250 years. So you just imagine those people. Then industrialization began in almost 18th 19th century, first half of the 19th century in West Europe, then later USA and all. So these developed nations, they are carrying on industrial activities, they are burning all these fossil fuels since last 250 years, since last 250 years, and we are mm, just developing. Okay, so whatever fossil fuels that we are using, it is quite negligible if you talk about what they are using even right now. If you have heard and read our foreign ministers' statements, okay, whatever energy that we are consuming in an entire day, in an entire month, that much amount of energy Europe is consuming in half a day. That much amount of energy, that much amount of fossil fuels Europe is burning in just half day, and we are using that much energy for an entire month. So there has to be certain differences when implementing these different rules. There has to be certain differences when implementing such any binding agreements. So this has to be followed, but slowly and steadily these are getting diluted, which you'll study and hear in different environmental summits and conferences. For example, the recently happened COP26, okay, in Glasgow. Okay, so what were the steps, what was the announcements made by our government? So go through that, and from that you will get a glimpses about what steps need to be taken and what should be the stand of India in overall development of the environment. Fine. India is doing a quite significant work when it comes to development of environment, but ठीक है, on paper है, reality don't know, because recently there was a tiger census report released, and it was said that India has crossed more than 3000 tigers or something. Okay, but on scrutinizing that reports, how actually they were able to count, बिलियों बिल्लियां थी जिनके ऊपर स्ट्राइप्स थे, उनको भी टाइगर के नाम पे काउंट किया था। ठीक है, सो ऐसे भी होता है। ठीक है, इट इज ऑल ब्यूरोक्रेसी जो ये काम करते हैं। ठीक है, नंबर बढ़ाने के लिए मतलब कुछ भी कर रहे हैं। सो ठीक है, फॉरेस्ट कवर ऑल्सो it is increasing in India. It is said that the forest cover, it was 33 should be the 33% of the land, total land area of a country, is the ideal that should be under forest cover. In India, it was way too low. It was almost around 18%. Slowly, it increased to 21%. Now it is said that it has increased to 24%. ठीक है, 3% जो बड़ा है, पढ़ लेना कैसे बड़ा है। Critically evaluate, critically analyze. So you have to write, when you're writing answers, that there need to be proper assessment. Okay, there need to be proper assessment of the wildlife resources. So ऐसे statements use करना। ठीक है, ऐसे मत कहानी मत लिख देना। ठीक है, इवन यहाँ पे दो चार पेड़ अगर एक साथ है तो हाँ ये फॉरेस्ट है, इतना एरिया फॉरेस्ट एरिया। So resource planning, as I've said, resource planning is quite crucial. Fine, coal crisis ho raha hai, okay, coal crisis is occurring right now. So if it would have been planned in a proper way, this crisis would not have occurred. So resource planning we have already talked about. Then there is one concept, इसमें नहीं है, ठीक है, resource curse. Resource curse, okay. Now what is resource curse? Resource curse. If you look at the mineral map of India, in upcoming lectures we'll see majority of the resources in India are found in the states of Jharkhand, okay, Chhattisgarh, Odisha. So these states, they have quite a lot of resources, mineral resources. But if you talk about the developed, a little bit developed states of India, especially the western and the southern states, they are actually the developed state where the resources are quite less. Okay, compared to these states, the resources are quite less. So why this is happening? This overall thing, it is called as the resource curse. Okay, they have a lot of resources, but they lack overall social and human, social, economic and overall human development. So this has acting as a curse for them. And this is not just with respect to India. If you look at the overall resource map of the world, majority of the resources will be, you will find that they are in Africa, Southern America. They are quite rich in mineral resources, but still the social, economic and the overall human development in this, in these regions, it is quite poor. Okay, so it has all to do with the historical backgrounds. Okay, for example, if you talk about India, colonialism, it was the basic cause for all this. Fine. So all the imperialist countries, what they did, they developed the regions which were benefited, which were suitable for their needs. Okay, for example, Mumbai was developed because of the port facility over there, and it was getting all the resources from the interior of India towards these ports, which ultimately developed as the financial hubs, and from where they carried on all these things to their own country for ultimate development of the finished products. As a result, what has happened, the places where there was there where there these resources were available in plenty, okay, from them these resources were extracted through the with the help of the local population. They were used as menial laborers, and those resources were extracted and carried on, and they were hardly paid anything. They were hardly paid anything. As a result, the overall development of these regions did not take place. All these social causes and everything for the non development of these resources we will study in human geography aspect. Fine. बट अभी के लिए बस ये टर्म ध्यान में रखना, ठीक है. Regions which are rich in resources but poor in socio-economic indicators. Fine. They mainly suffer because of the resource curse. Then resource planning in India. Fine. India is quite a rich country in terms of minerals. There are a lot of resources, but we have seen the physiography of India is quite varied. If you look at these states, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, resources are there, but most of the regions they are also covered with forests. They are also covered with dense forest. Plus there are a lot of tribal population, indigenous tribal population living over there. So unko immediately hata to bhaga to nahi sakte. Okay, they are our own people. Okay, they are fighting for their own cause, but ultimately there is left wing extremist activities taking place. Red corridor region hai, ठीक है, बट अल्टीमेटली दे आर पीपल. फाइन. तो उनको ज़्यादा ये नहीं करना चाहिए, ठीक है. सो देर आर एन नंबर ऑफ कॉजेस. इनफैक्ट दिस ईयर ऑल्सो देर वॉज अ क्वेश्चन, इंडिया बीइंग अ पार्ट ऑफ द गोंडवाना लैंड, okay, the mineral resources are not developed to that great extent. There was such question. I have already taken the entire how you should write the answer for that question. Okay, वो video please आप देख लेना, ठीक है. You will find that video on guidance channel. In this, I have discussed all the geography GS answers. Okay, geography, all the GS answers, and I have also explained how to make every answer as an objective answer. Fine. So this is about the resource planning. Then nowadays, with the help of technology, we are able to analyze and explore the resources in India. Okay. Nowadays, we have resource sat satellite. RSAT satellite नाम सुना है? RSAT, RSAT. ओके, ये नाम सुना है, ठीक है. सुनोगे, ठीक है, जब भी आता है तो ये रियलाइज करना, ठीक है. रिसोर्स सैट, इट एक्सप्लोर्स द डिफरेंट मिनरल रिसोर्सेस ऑफ आवर country. So with the help of technology nowadays we are able to analyze in which regions we have resources, और ये पता लगने के बाद accordingly we can grant licenses to the mineral exploration industries. ठीक है, we can provide licenses and thus ultimately help in the development of that overall region. Fine. So nowadays we are using technologies like resource sat. Then there is other one, lidar, लाइट डिटेक्शन एंड रेंजिंग. ओके, अभी के लिए बस इतना समझना कि रडार टाइप ही होता है, ठीक है. अभी के लिए बस ऐसे बोल रहा हूँ, ठीक है. इट्स देयर इज अ क्वाइट अ डिफरेंस. फाइन, बट अभी के लिए बस इतना है. देयर इज ऑल्सो लाइट डिटेक्शन एंड रेंजिंग टेक्नोलॉजी यूटिलाइज फॉर एक्सप्लोरेशन ऑफ डिफरेंट मिनरल्स, एंड दस it will help us in India in actually knowing which minerals are present in which areas and accordingly take different mining activities. Right. So does help in overall development of India. Then conservation of resources. As I've said, uh, these resources, the fossil fuels, they are limited, they are non-renewable. So conservation of them it is quite crucial. Okay, sustainable use of this resources is quite crucial. Fine. Okay. As I've said about Gandhiji, there is enough for everybody's need and not for anybody's greed. There is enough for everybody's need and not for anybody's greed. Okay. Now, you as UPSC aspirant, trust me, आप लोग सबसे ज़्यादा you can say sustainable. You are like an example to the world for the sustainable use of resources. ठीक है. For 1 to 1.5 years you won't be traveling that much. आप एक ही रूम में रहोगे, क्लास जाओगे, घर आओगे. ठीक है. खाना भी आप लिमिटेड खाओगे ताकि ज़्यादा नींद नहीं आएगी. ठीक है. तो can I say you are not using most, you are not consuming that much energy as well. You will be studying in most of the time you will be studying in some library or reading hall. ठीक है. So community use of resources होगा. ऐसा नहीं कि सिंगल रूम कहीं बैठे. सम ऑफ यू माइट बी. ठीक है. सिंगल रूम कहीं बैठे 24 घंटे एसी चला के. ठीक है. और वेस्ट हो रहा है वो. But most of you will be studying in reading hall. So community use of resources, so you people will be like an example for the world that how you live sustainably. ठीक है. You will be wearing in the month of winters you will be wearing same clothes for 2 to 3 days. ठीक है. लड़कों के साथ तो यही होगा. 3 3 महीने तो एक ही स्वेटर रहेगा. सो वो कपड़े भी कभी धुलेंगे नहीं. 2 3 दिन में एक बार नहाओगे तो पानी भी कम यूज करोगे. सो literally the UPSC aspirants, they are the right example of sustainable use of resources. Okay. फेस वॉश कम यूज करोगे, सोप यूज कम यूज करोगे, माइक्रोप्लास्टिक्स कम रहेंगे. ठीक है. सो ऑल दिस थिंग्स विल हैपन. In fact, that should be a case study on this. We are the exact worldly example कि how we use the resources. ठीक है. Then if you talk about the land resources, land is also a resource. Okay. If you talk about the land resource, the majority of the land in India, it is 43% uh, plain areas. Okay. The most productive zone of India is the plain areas. 43% of the human life, the human activities in India takes place in the plains of India. Fine. It takes place in the plains of India because of the favorable climate for the agriculture, favorable soil for agriculture again. Then if you talk about the mountains, the 30%, and the plateaus, the 20%. Okay. So we'll see about the land utilization. India has a land under a variety of relief features, mostly, namely mountains, plateaus, plains, and islands. The most of the land area of, yes, कोई doubts? पूछ लेना है. ठीक है. Most of the area in India is 43% of the land area is in India is in plains. Is there any doubt over here? Pakka? Okay. Because if you look at the map of India, most of the time by looking at the map of India, you'll feel that the plateau area is quite large. But remember that the plain area is quite large. Okay. In India, 43% of the area, because we also have coastal plains. We also have coastal plains on both the ends. Then also we have the North Indian plains extending right from Punjab right up till the Assam. Okay, where we have the Brahmaputra plains. So the most of the majority of the land area is in India is covered by the plains. 43% is covered by the plains. Then the next is the mountains, and then there we have the plateaus. Okay, mountains, not just the Himalayan mountains, we also have mountain ranges on the peninsular part. Fine. Then if you talk about this land as a resource, the purpose is forests. Okay. As I've said, the forests in India, almost 24% of the area in India is under forest. Then there is land not available for cultivation. There are certain wastelands. For example, if you talk about the Thar Desert, okay, Rajasthan desert region, it is completely a barren land. But nowadays, even steps are being undertaken for undertaking cultivation in these areas as well. Okay, there is a convention, United Nation Convention for combating desertification, UNCCD, okay, United Nation Convention for combating desertification. And a very good example about this is the case study about Kubuki Desert, चाइना में है. इसकी केस स्टडी देख लेना, ठीक है, यूट्यूब पे वीडियो देख लेना, कुबुकी डेजर्ट इन China. Under this, hundreds of hectares of land, which is completely a desert land. ठीक है, complete desert sandy soil है वहां पे. These lands, they are now brought under cultivation, and almost around 60 to 70 types of different types of crops are being cultivated in this desert areas. Even fruits like watermelon is also cultivated in this area, and such activities are also to some extent being undertaken also in India as well. Okay, but you will easily find videos about this, and they are quite interesting. Okay, so कभी desert मतलब केडर, राजस्थान केडर मिल जाता है, ठीक है, तो कर देना हरियाली, ठीक है, खेती बाड़ी करते हैं, ठीक है. देन लैंड पुट टू नॉन एग्रीकल्चरल यूज, फॉर एग्जांपल बिल्डिंग्स, रोड्स, ओके, कॉन्क्रीट डेजर्ट जिसे हम आजकल कहते हैं, ठीक है, कॉन्क्रीट डेजर्ट. सो दैट इज ऑल्सो the land. So these barren lands, then land put not to agricultural use, they all come under land not available for cultivation. Then we have the other uncultivated land, excluding the fallow land. Example, permanent pasture and grazing land, which are allotted only for the grazing of the animals, sheep, goats, and other cattles. Fine. So there are such lands. Then land under miscellaneous tree crops, not included in net zone area. Usually you will find that in certain places, okay, especially in rural areas, people, they love the trees around their locality a lot, and they preserve this these tree called as the sacred groves, called as the sacred groves. ओके, तो ये भी एक एनवायरनमेंट का ही कंसेप्ट है, ठीक है. सो सच सेक्रेड ग्रूव्स आर प्रेजेंट विच आर प्रोटेक्टेड बाय द कम्युनिटी themselves. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू हैव heard of the चिपको मूवमेंट, ठीक है, चिपको मूवमेंट. So Chipko movement, then there was another Apiko movement in Karnataka, Chipko movement in Uttarakhand, which happened recently in 1960s or something. Then this was mostly a replication of the Chipko movement that took place during the British era, during in the 17th century, by Bishnois, the I forgot the name. Khejarli trees are there. Okay, Kejri. Okay, Kejri. Sorry for the pronunciation. So Kejri trees are there. They were going to be cut down by the Britishers at that time, and people, they literally hugged the trees and avoided the British from cutting the trees. But the British used force on them, and almost around more than 200 people lost their lives in protecting those trees. Okay, so the Chipko movement, it took place at that time. Then we have the culturable waste land, okay, left uncultivated for more than 5 agricultural years. So the land which is left fallow for more than 5 years, जहाँ पे कोई खेती बाड़ी नहीं की गई है, such are considered as the culturable wasteland. And it is quite easy to bring these lands under cultivation by use of proper fertilizers and nutrients. Then we have the fallow lands. Current fallow land means usually what farmers do is they leave their land uncultivated for a certain period of time, so that the soil is able to replenish its nutrients in a better way. Fine. Soil is also a renewable resource. Okay, soil is also a renewable resource. Soil will study, there are different layers of soil and how they are renewed and formed. Fine, there are different layers of soil. Just remember for time being, it was covered in the later on. Then we have the other than the current fallow land, the land which is left uncultivated for more than 1 year and less than 5 year. It is called as the other than current fallow land. Then remember these things, quite these things: net sown area and the area completely, the gross cropped area. What is the difference between the net sown area and the gross crop area? So the land which is under cultivation right now, the agricultural land on which crops are being cultivated, on which the crops are being sown, okay, means now the monsoon season will come and there will be rice cultivation, you can say. So all the agricultural land where the crops will be sown, that is called as the net sown area. Then there are certain gross crop area. There are certain places in India where there will one particular land, it will be utilized more than once for cultivation of multiple crops in 1 year. Okay, for example, if you talk about the North Indian plains, now there will be rice cultivation, and in the month of winter, there will be cultivation of wheat. Okay, so in 1 year, whatever the agricultural land, if it is used for more than one crop, for the cultivation of more than one crop, then it is called as the gross cropped area, because it will be counted twice. Okay, it will be counted twice, so it can be called as the gross cropped area. The number of times it number of times the number of crops increases, the gross crop area also goes on increasing. Fine. Then the land use pattern in India, how actually the land is utilized. I think we'll stop for today. Okay, we'll continue from tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll see the land use pattern and the different types of soils as well. Fine. We'll see the different types of soils in India. Yes, I'll give a question.